So, welcome back to another video today. Today is January 20th, maybe? Nope, today is January 21st. It is a Friday, and we are finally going to talk about the RCS versus kind of SMS versus iMessage. So, this was supposed to come out on Wednesday, but I tried recording in 4K and OBS just did not like me recording in 4K, and so now we're back down to 1080p, which is still HD, which is good. It's good. So over the past, I don't know, the first week of January, the New Year's, I was on a road trip, and over that road trip, we had a group chat with all of the people that were on that road trip. And so we had a mix of people on iOS and a mix of people on Android. Four of them were on iOS and two of us were on Android. And so occasionally we would get messages like liked and then in quotations. Now, the fancy quotation marks and then a message. And so we would have about twice the amount of messages received in that group chat. And so it got me thinking. But also, around that time, there were a lot of headlines about Google and Apple about this iMessage versus RCS debate. And Google was kind of shaming Apple for not accepting RCS and all that stuff. I was curious to see how my friends thought about the whole situation. And so I asked about 21 people, friends, one of two questions. If they had an iPhone, I would ask them, how do green text message bubbles make you feel? And then if they had an Android phone, I would ask them, as a fellow Android user, how does it make you feel when someone using iMessage reacts to your message? And so out of those 21 people, I got about 18 or 19 responses, which I'm glad. I'm glad that they responded. I also then later tweeted it, and I got 2 replies on there, so they help contribute to the conversation. So we're just going to go over the conversations that went on and how my friends thought about this whole topic. And so let's start with people who have iPhones, starting with one of my best friends, Grayson. So I asked him, how do green text message bubbles make you feel? And his response was very short and simple. Angry. All right, let's move on. I then got a response from Max, who has an iPhone. He says, don't matter to me as long as the text goes through, homie. I appreciate that. So I just respond with awesome thanks. And so he cares about the ability to text more than anything. So being able to communicate, which is great. So next I got a response from my friend Tim. He has an iPhone and he says, I'm indifferent as long as it's still you. We're texting, you know? And so just like Max, as long as we're communicating, then it's great. I respond with absolutely. And Tim kindly follows up with, what's up? Do I gotta beat someone up and defend your green bubbles with the triumph emoji face thing? Something like that. And I respond with nope, but I'll definitely hit you up if someone does shame my green bubbles though. And so he's a good friend. He is a wonderful friend. Next up, I message JC Axamart, JC WWE Colapunk. And he responds with, just like Grayson, he responds with upset. And so I think with both JC and Grayson saying angry or upset and angry respectively, I think we can confirm that the Boy Oh Boy podcast openly mobile operating system-ist. They're Android phobic. If there is anything to take away from this video, it's that the Boy Oh Boy podcast is Android phobic. Next up, I message Pierce, and he responds, doesn't matter to me. And so that's another +1 for the people who feel indifferent. Derek. He says, they are indifferent to me, just can't change group chat names with a green bubble. That's it. And, which, that is a good point. Like, us on Android, we are able to change it to whatever we want to, and it doesn't affect the other people. So that's cool. And he raises a good point, but that's what you get for using iPhone. Next up, Mia. She has an iPhone, and so she goes in depth into what her perspective is. All the people who I would text most frequently had blue bubbles, so seeing a green one was weird. But now that I text Thomas, her boyfriend, the most, so it's weird seeing a blue one. No intrinsic hate for either color though. I'm a little sad when it's green because I can't bother them with iMessage games, but that's it. And then I follow up with iMessage games being a feature that we miss or are missing, but for my friends and I, we use this app called Play-Doh, which has most of the games as well. And then later she follows up with, honestly, iMessage is one of the biggest reasons I got another iPhone, the other being FaceTime, but with the rise of other platforms, it's less compelling. So like Discord or Zoom. I'm sorry if you use Zoom for recreational video calling, but it's an option. Google Meet, Microsoft Teams, Skype. Does anyone use Skype? Next up, I get a response from Andrew Flammy. He says, oh, hi, LOL, random question, like the text green bubbles? And I follow up with, no, the green grass outside that I never touch. Yes, of course, the green bubbles in iMessage. And he says, oh, I don't know. I haven't really thought about it. And I was confused by that response. I needed some clarification. So I asked about touching grass or the green message bubbles. And he says the bubbles. So he's one that hasn't thought about it before. Next, my friend Jackie. Apparently she lost my contact. So then we clarify that, and then she says, they're not terrible. Next is Gabby. She says, sorry I didn't reply anyway. I don't mind them, but I think blue looks cooler. Okay, I mean, blue is a nicer color than green. Somewhat true. Green is the best color, but blue the shade of blue and a shade of green that iMessage uses, the blue is better, but green is still nice. And last but not least is from Chargle, and she says, bad. So is this just a podcaster thing? You just respond with one word for this? Like, also, the 3 podcasters that I did get a response from, they were against the green message bubbles. So I think we can confirm that half of the BIM and W podcast also is Android phobic. Okay, so on Twitter, I got 2 responses. Friend Sarah says, well, the fact that I saw a TikTok about how it's from Apple using outdated technology, it really aggravates me that we still have green bubbles. So that's probably a hint towards, it is a hint towards the underlying technology of iMessage. We'll get into that another video. And then Kevin, he says, Apple can simply change the color of their text bubbles, but are stuck in 2010. That's a good one. How about us Android users? How do we feel about it? Me, personally, I would like it if they used RCS. Actually, I did get one more, because I messaged them on a different number. So this is my freshman year roommate, and we'll finish up on his. So for him, I followed up by jokingly saying, as a fellow Android user, how does it make you feel when someone using iMessage reacts to your message? And he has an iPhone. We all know he has an iPhone. He is an Apple enthusiast. So I follow up with, how do green text message bubbles make you feel? Ignore the first one. And he responds with, I just expect latency / minimal feature set when using SMS. And then he dislikes the message for my Android question, and then follows up with, if green message bubbles mean RCS, I wouldn't care. Or meant RCS, I wouldn't care. And so, yeah, it would be really nice if they did. Then he follows up with this Twitter post about Apple, which I agree. Yeah, it's pretty spot on. And then I thank him about being the first iMessage user to like a message so I can use it as a reference. And he laughs at that. There we go. So he brings up a good point. Apple could use RCS, but they refuse to. Next up is Android users. Now, the proportion of Android users to iOS users, not entirely as much, but for the first one, I believe is with my friend Greg, a fellow Android user. How does it feel? How does it make you feel when someone using iMessage reacts to your message? And he responds with, I just pretend iPhone users don't exist. Which, sure, yeah, you do you. And I do follow up with, a little unfortunate that your girlfriend does have an iPhone though. Next is my brother. So then we have a semi-conversation. He says, before the fix where I just got the text version, sad face. After the fix, plain, normal, long face, but support my RCS. And then I was a little confused. Then we talk about how Google eventually plans on implementing the iOS version of reactions, or like remedy it by just interpreting those messages and adding it as a reaction. But we have not received that update yet. Next up is my friend Josh. So for Android, when we're messaging someone with SMS, it'll show up as a different color than someone who uses RCS. RCS is definitely much more brighter and bolder than SMS. And so when I message Josh, I get the SMS color. And so I get really confused. Wait, have you switched back? And then he clarifies it, saying, I'm still on Android. I think it sucks. It is weird how it just sends another text, but overall I do like Android a lot, because he recently switched from iPhone to an Android phone. And then so I clarify my confusion by saying it for some reason switched between SMS and RCS. But he also follows up saying, I still have my iMessage on my Mac, so I think it goes back and forth. That is another awkward user experience, but not even for the user, but for the friends of the user. It does create some barrier between the users, but it's not too much of an issue. Next up is my friend Thomas, and we have a longer conversation. At first, he's confused about RCS, and he wants me to clarify about my question, saying like getting made fun of for using Android, because that has never happened to me. And so I show him an example of a user disliking a message, and I clarify that RCS is next generation after SMS, where I can also react and some other things with other people with RCS enabled. And then he remembers that, oh wait, that did happen in my group project last semester and nobody commented on it. I didn't think anything of it. I can see a thumbs up on that. So I did a thumbs up to his message to show one capability of RCS. And then he talks about Apple side. Can't say I'm too surprised, since they said iMessage was the only thing keeping iOS popular. Changing it to make it closer to Android would defeat their whole idea. And then says, well, I wouldn't expect them to implement RCS considering their high valuation of iMessage and its complete separation from Android. If they refuse to add an already completed iMessage app to the Android store, I would highly doubt a new Android specific feature is added. So I think it's a good observation, but it also kind of misses the point of a little bit of the standardization. RCS has since been accepted by carriers as well as phone manufacturers. So in addition to just Pixel phones, Samsung and other companies that I can't think of right now also do accept RCS. In fact, let's go on the RCS website and check out what their main points are. All right, so this is on the Google's website, jibe.google.com, and you can see that, let's just do this over here. You can see that they are trying to convince you of RCS. Universal RCS profile. Designed to move mobile networks beyond texting, different approaches made it difficult and costly for carriers to bring it to users. By aligning on the GSMA's Universal RCS profile with the iMessage's RCS client app, so this is at the moment they're using Google Messages, carriers can now provide RCS messaging across the Android ecosystem. Google is partnering with carriers and OEMs. OEMs is phone manufacturers. To offer a native messaging client messages for RCS, SMS, and MMS messaging. Messages supports the GSMA's universal profile for interoperability across operator networks and devices. And so if we scroll down, I believe, they used to show what supports. Okay, they have their own section now. So if we go into North America, that's where we're at. Messaging partners. So I guess these are the companies that are supporting RCS now. Fancy. And then for OEM partners, Huawei, LG, Motorola, Transsion, Infinix, itel, Tecno, TCL, Alcatel, BlackBerry, Nokia, Micromax, Wacom, Blue. A lot of companies that you might not recognize: Cherry Mobile, Pixel, Android Go, Android One. Why did I not see Samsung? That's odd. We'll look into that another time. So, enough on that side note. We still have a few responses from other people on Android. Neil, he says, I think it's funny how dumb it looks. And I say I agree. It gives a great opportunity to make a joke out of it by sending the same thing back. And so I do the liked thing, and then he liked my liked message, and we have a fun time. On a similar note, Manny says, I think it's funny whenever they do it, LOL. I normally just clown on them for doing it. So, yeah. Similar notes. My friend Brennan, he says, cringe. You raise a very good point. And I believe that is it. So, what can we take away from this? We can say that my demographics are very centered around my group of friends, and so they might not actually reflect what the rest of the world who use Android or iPhone think. But for the most part, my friends at least, they said they were indifferent. They didn't really mind it, and they can make a good joke out of the reaction text messages that the iMessage, I guess their protocol layer falls back on when they're trying to send a reaction to people who use SMS. I think they didn't have to do it at all. It's very manipulative of Android or of Apple to send these messages, because it's making people who are on SMS feel left out. But at the very least, they could try to implement RCS to ensure that we can have a good time being able to communicate with each other. Well, I think I am glad to have this video out now. I have other things to get to. Okay, so I opened OBS and this is what I see. Maybe I should just record like this. Never mind. I'm gonna fix it. Blah blah blah. So usually how this goes is I press record and I press talk. Is this gonna be in a actual video? No, probably in a in the bloopers. Blah blah blah. Okay.